So the Transco bus strike, which has now been in effect since October 31st, if you can believe it. So, while we were all busy dealing with the teacher strike and everything else, this strike has been ongoing now for quite some time. And the difference, I think, in this is the government is not really involved. So you have the company, Transco, you have their drivers, and those two people have met before at the negotiation table. I know that because we spoke with Marcel Boudreau from Transco a couple of weeks ago, but nothing seems to have come from this. And then, out of the blue yesterday, we get a text message from a listener who knows something about this and lets us know this.
Yeah, I think it was not totally out of the blue because I think I was complaining about the impact that it has on families. And when I go into single mom mode because Dave's on the road for work or travel, it's really hard. So if it's hard for me, I can only imagine what it's like for so many people dealing with the bus strike. And then we get this text that says, I am a bus driver with Transco. And they say basically that Transco got a large amount of money from the government that was meant to be shared with the drivers. 43% was meant to go to the drivers, but Transco is keeping it in their pockets, and they say they're lying to the public about salaries and conditions. This texter says a Transco representative went on a French television show, said we're paid $31 an hour, which is totally false. If drivers were getting $31, we wouldn't be on strike. Our salaries are a little over $18 an hour, this texter says, and most drivers have 2 or 3 jobs just to make ends meet. No benefits, no retirement plans at all. There are drivers that have been with the company for 30, 40 years and were treated poorly when they retired without even a thank you for their service.
So the question here has to be, what is the real story, number one, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So we want to find out from Marcel. This person who says they're a driver went on to say, we're only paid for 30 hours a week. They make $500 weekly clear. And for that, they're wearing multiple hats every day and doing what we love, and we love the kids. But they're saying the government is the problem here. They don't recognize that it's a real profession, and transport companies like Transco take advantage of it.
All right, so let's try to get to the bottom line on this if we can. Marcel Boudreau, who, again, we spoke to, is on the line. He is a bus driver and spokesperson for Transco. Marcel, you heard Natasha go through those figures that were supplied to us by someone who works as a driver with the company. What's really going on here? What is the number? What are you getting paid? What are you being offered?
Well, that letter is quite accurate. In fact, we're getting paid under $19, halfway between $18 and $19 for a start. And even the ones that are there for 20 years don't have much more.
This is not okay. I honestly, I knew that the situation was bad, and I knew that we'd heard that Transco was keeping the money that had been put forth by the government. Why is nothing happening here, Marcel? Something is not adding up to me.
Well, the company just wants to keep the most of the money to themselves instead of giving it. You see, what happened is close to 2 years ago, government Legault realized that they were at the root of the problem for the poor salary, the undecent salary that the drivers, which are offering a great service, were getting paid. So what they did, they decided to increase the amount that they were giving for each contract for the routes. They increased from 15 to 30% each route that the drivers are driving. Now, from that money, as you saw in the letter was sent to you, a percentage, close to 43%, was intended to be given to the driver as a raise. Now, at the union, we have the numbers. It's public funds, so since it's public funds, the numbers are available. And we know that the Transco company is able to pay us finally in 2024 a decent salary for what we're doing for the society. And we are decided to keep on and to get what we deserve.
Okay, it's one thing to hear you say that, and I'm sure there are parents out there as well hearing what you're doing. And
I
look,
support the drivers.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? Not the easiest job in the world necessarily either, but to read a text from a driver saying we love our job, we love what we do, and we're not being treated fairly. I think I may have asked you, Marcel, the first time we spoke, how does this end? Because if the company is so intent on not moving, even though they say they're going to have negotiations with you, what happens here?
The school boards are in the middle. What happens is the government gives the money to the school board, and the school board then signs contract with different carriers and hand them the contracts. So they're in the middle. What we're trying to do right now is to wake up the school boards in order to so they can make pressure against Transco to negotiate with us, but because they haven't negotiated, they just made an offer that they lowballed us,
Yeah.
and they don't want to move. They're just sticking to it. I think they're looking more at the margin of profit than anything else. But we know that the money is there. We know that they have the money that's been given from the government in order to be given to us, and we want to get it.
Marcel, the school boards are telling us that they're powerless, that they have contracts with Transco. They can't cancel those contracts. They basically are not in any position to do anything. And now you've heard, I'm sure, that we're going to be offered $7 a day compensation from the government for the days that the bus service has not been in effect. So what do you say to that when the school boards say, no, there's nothing we can do. This is not our job to involve ourselves?
Well, if Transco cannot respect the contracts, I'm wondering how come that the government is paying the $7.50. Shouldn't they be fined in order not respecting their contract, and they get the fine? So now the public funds are used to pay what the private companies not supplying as a service.
Right.
Again.
But that money is going directly to parents from the government through the school board.
By means of compensation, right? And so I would imagine the funds are completely separate. And in the interim, I know you guys are getting a little bit of money from your union, but I assume that they're saving money while the buses are on strike.
Well, some of our bus drivers need to go to food banks in order to cope with the amount that it's costing for fuel and your grocery basket and things like that. And even when we were working, a lot of the drivers can't afford to go back home in between the two shifts. They had to stay at the office, so they are at work from 11 to 12 hours a day, but they're getting paid for 6.
No, it's not
so
okay.
So this has to change.
Yeah. But how is it going to change, Marcel? I think because we seem to be at a...
It's going to change the day that Transco will meet our demands and realize that we're done with the low salaries that they were used to pay us. It's over.
Marcel, there are other bus companies out there. Where are you on the scale with others? Do you know?
At the moment, some companies negotiated salaries that they got raised from close to 53%, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. And what we're asking is in the same area. So and even Mascouche, that is operated by Transco also, they got 53%. And they're owned by the same company.
That's weird.
I have to say, this is something is terribly wrong here. You deserve better. There's no question. If the school boards aren't in a position to put pressure on Transco to negotiate properly, should that pressure be coming from the government then? I mean, something's got to give here.
I don't understand. So you just said Transco, the same company that you work for that has you out on the job, is paying bus drivers in another part of the city or in Mascouche more money, considerably more money than they're offering you. And I'm wondering how that can be.
Well, you have to realize that Transco owns a lot of different companies their unions are different. Okay. They're not from the same union. So you have the branch of Montreal, Pointe-Claire, that is under one union. It's the CSN. We are 3 together. But some other terminals are under other unions. And these unions negotiated, and they got what they got. And some other unions on the South Shore negotiated also, and they didn't get nearly nothing.
Okay,
so we don't want the same thing to happen to us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Listen, it sounds like a story without any kind of an immediate ending, which is just terrible for everybody involved, the drivers, the parents, the kids as well. So we will speak again, and I hope in the interim something positive does come of this, Marcel. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Marcel Boudreau from Transco.
Well,
Look,
he's a driver, and he represents the Transco
yeah.
union.
It's something messed up in here. And I understand there are different bargaining groups or unions. It's the same company doing one thing for one set
It doesn't
and
add
not
up.
for
And
unless
why
there's that
is
many more drivers and it will cost them that much more money
no?
because it's in
Nothing
Montreal. I
makes
don't know.
sense.